It was November 12, 2025. Deep in the rural timberland of Shawano County, Wisconsin. Inside a quiet garage, three men sat sharing stories. The night air was cold, but inside, it was warm. Casual laughter. The kind of steady, comfortable friendship built over decades. There was no heated debate. No sudden argument. No warning whatsoever. Then, one of the men reached into his jacket, pulled a handgun, and squeezed the trigger. What happened in those brief, terrifying seconds would baffle investigators, shatter a quiet hunting community, and lead to a desperate fight for survival inside a locked farmhouse. But what deputies would find on the suspect just hours later, only deepened the mystery. To understand the weight of this tragedy, you have to understand who was sitting in that chair. 67-year-old Rick Roundy was far more than just a name in a police report. He was a devoted husband of 41 years to his wife, Diane, a father to 3 grown children, and a proud veteran of the United States Air Force. He loved the outdoors. He loved his family. And he treated his local community with genuine warmth. On that Wednesday evening, Rick had gone to a local tavern with his longtime neighbor, 75-year-old Brent Hofman, and another mutual friend. After grabbing a drink, the 3 men headed back to the property, unwinding inside the garage. According to official witness statements, the atmosphere was completely light. Standard conversation between old acquaintances. Until the moment, everything shattered. Without saying a word, Brent Hofman stood up. He raised a firearm, aimed directly at Rick Roundy, and fired. Rick collapsed instantly. The surviving witness, standing only feet away, froze in utter shock. He later described the moment as completely surreal. Hofman showed no outward emotion, no anger, and no hesitation. And that was when the witness realized a terrifying reality. He believed he was next. He bolted out the door into the pitch black, running toward the main house as fast as he could. Inside, his hands were shaking. He slammed the entrance door, through the lock, but he knew a thin piece of wood wouldn't save him. He sprinted into the living room, frantically searching for anything to defend his life. He found a small .22 caliber Ruger pistol. Loaded it with trembling hands, and took a defensive position, pointing the barrel directly at the glass pane on the door. He waited in the silence, counting every heartbeat. And then, shadows moved outside. Brent Hofman had tracked him to the front porch. As Hofman raised his arm and tried to push through the glass pane, the witness made a split-second decision. He squeezed the trigger, firing multiple rounds through the glass. Shards shattered across the floor. The shot struck Hofman in the face, stopping his advance instantly. Bleeding heavily, Hofman stumbled back into the darkness. The witness held his position for what felt like an eternity, weapon raised, praying for law enforcement to arrive. When flashing patrol lights cut through the rural darkness, deputies stepped into a scene of complete devastation. Inside the garage, Rick Roundy was pronounced deceased. Deputies quickly secured the perimeter. And within moments, they spotted 75-year-old Brent Hofman stumbling nearby. He was heavily intoxicated, with visible facial wounds from the shattered glass. When officers placed him under arrest, Hofman did something that left investigators completely baffled. He apologized, but flatly denied possessing a firearm. Yet, as deputies glanced down at his waist, they spotted a single detail that instantly contradicted his claim. Hanging from his belt was an empty holster. At this point, investigators believed they understood the physical sequence of events. But one discovery during the arrest would raise even more unsettling questions. In criminology, cases involving longtime friends turning on each other without an established motive are exceptionally rare. In almost every fatal shooting, detectives can trace a paper trail. A financial dispute. Long-festering resentment. A property argument. Or a sudden explosion of rage. Here, there was nothing. No argument. No past conflict. Just decades of peaceful coexistence that ended in a matter of seconds. That total absence of an obvious explanation quickly became the central mystery facing law enforcement. Hofman was rushed to a local hospital for medical treatment. Once cleared by doctors, he was transported directly to the Shawano County Jail. When corrections staff officially processed him for homicide, Hofman looked at the officers, and uttered 5 chilling words. "I never hurt anybody." It was a statement that directly contradicted the physical evidence left behind at the scene. In court, prosecutors officially charged Brent Hofman with first-degree intentional homicide, and attempted first-degree intentional homicide. Due to the extreme danger posed to the community, bail was set at $1 million cash. During preliminary hearings, District Attorney Greg Parker addressed the court, re-emphasizing what made this case so disturbing to veteran investigators. Quotes from official filings highlight that there was simply nothing said or done that evening to provoke such an attack. Defense attorneys pointed to Hofman's age, his severe intoxication, and his injuries. However, after hearing the survivor's gripping testimony, the judge ruled there was sufficient evidence to bind Brent Hofman over for trial. In May of 2026, 75-year-old Brent Hofman appeared in court for his formal arraignment. Dressed in jail orange, he entered official pleas of not guilty. If convicted, Wisconsin law carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison. Additionally, because a firearm was used, and because the victim was over the age of 60, prosecutors added 11 years of penalty enhancements. While the legal process slowly moves through the Wisconsin court system, the true heart of this story lies far beyond the courtroom walls. It lies in how Rick Roundy's family chose to respond to an unthinkable tragedy. In the days following the shooting, as news spread across Shawano County, the local community rallied around the Roundy family. Many expected statements filled with outrage, demands for swift punishment, or bitter words for the man sitting in jail. Instead, Rick's family released an official public statement that stunned everyone who read it. They did not focus purely on vengeance. They did not speak with hatred. Instead, they released a message grounded in remarkable faith and grace. They asked the public for prayers. Not just for their own grieving family, but for the family of Brent Hofman as well. They recognized that another family's world had also been destroyed that night. Even more striking, the Roundy family used their platform to point to a broader issue, urging people to extend compassion to anyone in society who might be fighting silent, unaddressed mental health challenges or severe psychological decline. It was a profound act of humanity. A family choosing light in the absolute darkest moment of their lives. Rick Roundy's legacy is not defined by those final, tragic moments in a garage. His legacy lives on in his 41-year marriage to his wife, Diane, in his 3 children who carry his values forward, and in his honorable service to the United States Air Force. He was a man who loved the quiet peace of the woods, a man who built a life around honor, community, and family. As Shawano County prepares for trial, the court will eventually decide the legal fate of 75-year-old Brent Hofman. But no verdict, and no prison sentence, can ever undo the loss felt by those who knew and loved Rick Roundy. It leaves a lingering, uncomfortable question that plagues rural towns everywhere. When violence comes from a total stranger, we call it a tragedy. But when it comes from a neighbor, a hunting partner, someone who sat at your table for decades, how does a community ever truly heal? What are your thoughts on how Rick Roundy's family handled this heartbreaking situation? Let me know your perspective in the comments below. If you found this deep dive respectful, detailed, and informative, please hit that like button. Subscribe to Unclosed Mysteries, and turn on notifications so you never miss our analytical breakdowns of complex cases. Until next time, stay safe, look out for your neighbors, and take care of one another.